Once upon a time, in a quaint village in the English countryside, there lived a humble baker named Mr. William Harding. His bakery, nestled at the corner of Cobblestone Lane, was a beloved spot for the villagers, known far and wide for its warm, freshly baked bread and pastries. Every morning, the aroma of his delicious creations would drift through the village, drawing people to his shop. One crisp autumn morning, a wealthy gentleman named Sir Edward Granville visited the village. Sir Edward was hosting a grand banquet at his manor and needed a large order of bread and cakes. He approached Mr. Harding with the request, and after some discussion, handed him a heavy pouch of gold coins to cover the cost. In his rush, Sir Edward quickly left the bakery without counting the money. After Sir Edward left, Mr. Harding sat down to count the coins. To his surprise, he found that Sir Edward had overpaid by a significant amount. Mr. Harding's first thought was that he could keep the extra money. After all, his bakery was modest, and the additional gold could allow him to expand his business or improve his living conditions. No one would know, and the wealthy Sir Edward would likely not miss the coins. But as Mr. Harding pondered the situation, he felt a pang of guilt. His late mother had always taught him that honesty was the greatest virtue. A clear conscience is worth more than gold, she would say, remembering her words. Mr. Harding knew what he had to do. He closed his bakery early that day, wrapped his coat tightly around him, and set off towards Sir Edward's grand estate on the outskirts of the village. The manor was vast, with tall iron gates and sprawling gardens, a stark contrast to Mr. Harding's modest home. A servant answered the door and led him to the drawing room where Sir Edward sat, reviewing some papers. Sir Edward looked up, surprised to see the baker. "Mr. Harding, what brings you here?" he asked. With calm resolve, Mr. Harding handed Sir Edward the pouch of coins. "Sir Edward, when I counted the money, I found that you had given me far more than necessary. I believe this belongs to you." Sir Edward was taken aback. He stared at Mr. Harding, impressed by the baker's honesty. "You could have kept the money, Mr. Harding. No one would have known, Sir Edward," said his voice filled with admiration. "But I would have known, sir," replied Mr. Harding with a sincere smile. "Honesty is a man's true wealth, and I would rather sleep soundly, knowing I did what was right." Deeply moved by Mr. Harding's integrity, Sir Edward insisted that the baker keep a portion of the excess money as a reward. He also promised to spread the word about Mr. Harding's bakery. From that day on, Sir Edward became a regular customer, and word of Mr. Harding's honesty spread throughout the region. His bakery flourished like never before, not just because of his skill in baking, but because people trusted and respected him. And so, in the quiet village where Mr. Harding lived, his name became synonymous with honesty. His business grew, but more importantly, he gained something far greater: the unwavering trust and respect of his community. The moral of the story: true wealth is not measured by gold, but by the honesty and integrity with which one lives their life.